You're watching Camnet TV, not just another channel. Welcome to our news. The headlines. Dr. Nevis MUMBA left in the cold as MMD convention gets disrupted halfway. EIZ calls for professionalism among engineers in the country. Zambia on a positive path to COVID-19 recovery, records no COVID-19 death the first time in 2021. And in international news, Zimbabwe's dwindling blood supplies prompt calls for donors. And in sports news, SINKALA jets in for Algeria clash. For the details, join me shortly after this break.
I'm Ambassador Frank Mutsabila. My 50 years journey in the media has now taken me to Camnet television. I'm very excited to join this amazing inner family. The importance of governance issues cannot be overemphasized. Every Tuesday at 20:45, I'll be going under the skin of a governance issue with my guest. I'll be interrogating the guest so that you can make an informed decision. I'll be coming on every Tuesday at 20:45 with Frank on Camnet.
With the details, my name is Liseli Kanyanga Mubanga. The Engineering Institution of Zambia, EIZ President Abel Ngandu, has challenged all engineering professionals to observe professionalism during the course of their duty. Speaking during the Southern Region Annual General Meeting held in Lusaka Saturday, Engineer Ngandu disclosed that the EIZ and infrastructure development plays a key role in the development of the country. Meanwhile, Lusaka Deputy Mayor Christopher Shakafuswa has challenged the engineering professionals, Zambia EIZ, to step up and take a lead in the development of the country with regards to engineering-related issues, as stressed by His Excellency President Edgar Chagwa Lungu. More in this report.
Just like its mandate under Act 17 of 2010 of promoting engineering profession in Zambia so as to contribute to the material development of society by improving the level of engineering education training and practice in the country, the Engineering Institution of Zambia, EIZ, has called on all engineering professions to work together and bring the change in everyday work so as to have a great impact on the country's economy and infrastructure development. EIZ wants to ensure that members are involved in the development of the country and the institution. And speaking during the Southern Region Annual General Meeting held in Lusaka Saturday morning, EIZ President urged the engineering profession to continue playing a key role in the development of the infrastructure in the country.
It is pleasing to note that government recognizes the importance of the engineering professionals in the country by engaging us in matters of engineering and infrastructure. This is why, as the 16th Council, working alongside the government in ensuring that we have engineering professionals playing a role in the development of the infrastructure in the country. There is need for all engineering professionals to work together and bring the change in our everyday work as engineers, hence having a great impact on the country's economy and infrastructure development. Ladies and gentlemen, Council wants to ensure that members are involved in the development of the country and the institution, hence the commencement of the amendment of the EIZ Constitution and Act, of which members were asked to submit.
And Lusaka Deputy Mayor Christopher Shakafuswa says the government is passionate and looking forward to working with EIZ in various sectors of the economy and ensuring that the attainment of the 7th National Development Plan, which was developed to build a resilient and diversified economy, is achieved. The Deputy Mayor since urged EIZ to be committed in its work and serve the country through ensuring that engineering works carried out are of acceptable standards.
Engineering professionals play a key role in achieving the United Nations Sustainable Development Goals as it utilizes the principles of science and mathematics to develop practical applications in food, water, energy, environment, sustainable cities, and natural disaster resilience. Hence the need for each one of you engineering professionals to rise up, work hard, and be the drivers of the country's economy. We urge the engineering institution of Zambia to continue working with government in improving the public image of engineering in Zambia. Engineering has the ability to change the landscape of any country.
Miriam Kemba, reporting for Camnet TV News.
The Ministry of Fisheries and Livestock has effected a temporary ban of movement of all split-footed farm animals in Kalomo and Zimba districts until further notice. Zambia National Farmers Union Public Relations Officer Kelvin Kalei says the ban follows the recent reports of suspected foot and mouth disease (FMD) in the two districts. Mr. Kalei says the ban has been effected to facilitate thorough investigations into the outbreak of suspected FMD. The animals affected include cattle, goats, sheep and pigs. And Mr. Kalei says all stakeholders are expected to comply with the measure to avoid unnecessary conflict with the Animal Health Act number 27 of 2020. Zambia has for the first time in the year 2021 recorded 0 COVID-19 deaths in the last 24 hours. Ministry of Health has reported that the number of COVID-19 positive cases in the country have been reducing owing to efforts government has been putting in place to reduce the further spread of the pandemic. Meanwhile, the country has recorded 170 new COVID-19 cases with 187 new recoveries in the last 24 hours. Details in this report.
The country had in December of 2020 through to 2021 witnessed a rise in the number of COVID-19 deaths, a situation that led to panic among many stakeholders. In a single day, the country recorded deaths of above 250. The rise in the number of deaths brought fear, panic and anxiety among many stakeholders who called on government to consider imposing a second lockdown to contain the further spread of the pandemic. Government, however, intensified measures to ensure that the pandemic was contained, as imposing a second lockdown was going to shut down the economy that was already struggling from the effect of the pandemic. And for the first time in the year 2021, the country has recorded no COVID-19 deaths, a situation that needs to be saluted. And some stakeholders spoken to have expressed happiness at the revelation.
We are humbly glad to inform you that COVID-19 is real, but every day matter receive kutivan to half. But in the last 24 hours, so it's a tuno come back. But COVID-19 is real because tinga na ma face mask always in class. Na maleni now as a China reduced, but still exam utalimba, but it can't do kuti coronavirus at a reduced, so meaning was that fakirapo maleni more hours.
Monga wana sikuwenda masuzi kupatala machanu hospital muri bantu ambiri beni na mabaa at least vanhu vazinkala free osati vaendako pagrupu then pero yake wina ngwadwala ijalife makolo basonzo nkala sokudala so abani ngankale mwe wabwino kuti pasipoti kazidola magenda oso akipike kudala nzema madivizo so patana kupita na hizo ndio marefipa ngabazama so ngwatsokolele kali medovete ngabazika kidero kana aliye so namayo bote bitokere ngatizi ngabwera muno.
The fight against COVID-19 can be won if all players in the sector do their part in preventing the further spread of the pandemic. As Minister of Health Jonas Chanda has emphasized the need to stick to the 5 golden rules of masking up in the public, maintaining social distancing, washing hands frequently or use hand sanitizer, avoiding crowded places, and seek medical attention early if symptomatic. Prudence Chota, reporting for Camnet TV News.
The Health Professions Council of Zambia, HPCZ, has held the conviction and subsequent sentencing of a Chingola-based businessman who was arrested in January this year for pretending to be a health practitioner when he was not registered as such. Mr. Midland Ngoma, aged 49, acted contrary to Section 30, Cap 1 of the Health Professions Act number 24 of 2009 of the laws of Zambia, which prohibits any person from practicing as adopting or exhibiting the term health practitioner or do anything likely to lead persons to infer that such a person is a registered health practitioner. The offense carries a maximum sentence of 70,000 kwacha or 7 years imprisonment or both. Mr. Ngoma pleaded guilty and the Chingola Magistrate Court has since sentenced him to a fine of 2,500 kwacha, in a default of which he will serve a prison term of 6 months. This is according to a statement issued to Camnet TV News by HPCZ Public Relations Officer Mwakana Mvukwe.
The conviction and sentencing of a Chingola-based businessman, Millard Ngoma, for holding himself out as a health practitioner when he was not registered as such. Early this year, we got a tip-off that Mr. Ngoma was offering health services in a drugstore within Chingola on the Copperbelt province. That is how we moved in and had him arrested. The Health Professions Act number 24 of 2009 prohibits any person from practicing as a health practitioner, adopting or exhibiting the term health practitioner, or do anything likely to lead persons to infer that such a person is a registered health practitioner. So we caution would-be offenders that these acts are not only punishable, but pose a threat to the health of unsuspecting members of the public. HPCZ will continue to conduct compliance monitoring assessments in all licensed health facilities, and our inspections extend to premises suspected to be offering healthcare services because we want to protect the public.
And moving on in the news, a 23-year-old woman of Masala, Cairo Township in Dola has been remanded in police custody for the murder of her 33-year-old boyfriend. Tamara Tembo is believed to have murdered Luo Chira of Mangwana, Masala Township in Dola after hitting him in the head with a bottle of Black Label that left the victim with a deep cut on the head. Police spokesperson Esther Katongo has narrated that Mr. Chira, now the deceased, was at Sarah's Corner Bar for a drinking spree when Miss Tembo, believed to be the girlfriend, went to the same bar in a drunken state and started insulting the deceased. Ms. Katongo says it is at this point that Miss Tembo picked a bottle of Black Label containing beer and hit the victim on the head. The New Hope Movement for Multi-Party Democracy MMD 2021 virtual convention was this morning disrupted after the Operation Save MMD members served a High Court injunction to halt the convention. Operation Save MMD members, led by Raphael Nakachinda, interrupted the convention, which was ongoing on ground that it was illegal in accordance with the High Court ruling. Former Presidential Affairs Minister during the Levi Mwanawasa administration, Webi Chipili, made the application yesterday before High Court Judge Boa, which was granted in his favor. Meanwhile, MMD leader Dr. Nevis MUMBA disclosed that despite the interruption by officers, the convention was already successfully held. More in this report.
Listen, my friend. I don't want anyone to stay outside. When we finish everything, you'll be addressed. Please understand. No. You'll be addressed soon.
Drama is what characterized the morning of the 20th of March 2021 when fully equipped officers drastically interrupted the smooth convention that was held by the New Hope Movement for Multi-Party Democracy. What would be the reason for officers to storm at such a peaceful convention? Let's get back to what transpired. Yesterday, the 19th of March 2021, the Lusaka High Court had granted an injunction restraining the party from holding its convention. In its ruling, the court stated that if the party was to proceed, that would be contempt of court. This was an application made by the former Presidential Affairs Minister and Kamfisa lawmaker during the Levi Mwanawasa administration, Webi Chipili, but is despite being served by the court order, seems the party chose to ignore, instead opting to go ahead with the convention. But it was not long when the illegal convention was stopped.
No media. Okay, please. Only the president and the... No media beyond this point, please. No media beyond this point.
Operation Save MMD members, led by Raphael Nakachinda, interrupted the convention, which was ongoing on ground that it was illegal in accordance with the High Court ruling.
Members of MMD. Which members of MMD? You recently from the court.
Last week Sunday, expelled MMD member Raphael Nakachinda disclosed that he was not going to allow the convention to take place at any cost. Seems his goal has been achieved.
We're going to stop that convention at all costs. And definitely, when we succeed in stopping that convention, other decisions will be made following that development.
Now, MMD President Dr. Nevas MUMBA said despite the interruption, the convention was done and the police came late.
It is extremely sad that at the time when the Constitution of Zambia demands that every political party must go to a convention, every political party is going to the convention. UPND went to a convention, MDC went to a convention, PF has announced their convention. And I want them to know that this insatiable desire to fight the movement for multi-party democracy, for whatever reason they have, is very unfortunate. Mr. Webi Chipili, whom they are mentioning, if these people were members of our party, I would have no problem. But these are not members. Mr. Webi Chipili, I don't know the last time I ever heard of him.
For now, what is remaining is to hear the court outcome when both parties appear in court next week. Miriam Kemba, reporting for Camnet TV News.
We now take our first set of commercials. Do stay with us as we have more interesting stories lined up for you.
You know I can take her a bit.
Yes, my dear.
I was thinking of getting you a Bugatti on your birthday.
Really?
I'm quiet. My name is Yana.
Don't worry, man. That's why there is insurance.
Insurance?
You've heard me.
Not just any kind of insurance, but Savenda General Insurance, a company that offers superior customer service, highly professional and dedicated staff. We are not just any insurance company, but an insurance company that actually pays our claims. We cover, among others, fire, marine, aviation, engineering, agriculture, motor vehicle, and miscellaneous insurance. So, live life to the full, knowing that Savenda General Insurance has got you covered. Savenda General Insurance. Insurance excellence.
Dr. Bigron, musaibala komutienda okuni gift na land. Uchenkubeti uibise mojo basayone. Oh! Mwina moshi, nakuletera njinga. Latest ina ruvesi gear na mawaipa.
Zip code chidi ya shidia njinga. Liam 19 pendef code. Transport, we got it.
Nanga phone for communication. Ipu sana chizungu. Yeah, you see what I mean?
It's a Camnet, difficult.
It's communication. We got it.
Indemo me! Powerful system ndimba X-Buzz.
Mufumile kukalale. Na mnaimo muli bakumushi. We got it. Yo Bikron, utole noleta nchemfule mungani. Ngecho wachira pose nchichinshi. 1, 2, 3, both of you. Kabala ngempanga. Don't be stupid. We got it.
We're not here when God created you.
Thank you so much for staying with us. We continue with the news. The fight against gender-based violence among stakeholders in the Southern Province has intensified, with 60 police officers being trained in ways to curb the vice. The development follows the training organized by GIZ in Choma yesterday. Speaking in an exclusive interview with Camnet TV News, Southern Province Police Superintendent Edward Simukonde says the aim of the training was to discuss GBV and its negative effects in society. He says the rise in numbers of GBV cases in the region and across the country calls for more capacity building trainings among relevant stakeholders and generally members of the public.
Training on gender-based violence. This was meant to, bridge the gap which has been there in fighting GBV. Initially, we have officers who have been trained to fight GBV. These are officers under the Victim Support Unit. So we are the system whereby these officers who've never had, chance to be oriented on GBV issues, they could shine to hand over these issues. So the purpose of the training was to impart knowledge even to these other officers, especially the front desk officers at the inquiries and the detective and the general duties, so that in a situation whereby officers from BSU are not there, they can also handle these issues. And we have a situation now where at the weekends, like Saturdays and Sundays, victim support unit officers, they don't work, and but the offices are open, and you find that the people who are found there are officers under the inquiry offices. So
Kimasala Primary School in Solwezi District has handed over 4 solar radios to frequent listeners of school-on radio programs aired on the local community radio stations. The 4 radios were donated by the Kansenshi Foundation Education Department, meant to ensure that pupils continue to listen to the educative programs while at home. And speaking when he handed over the 4 radios to the beneficial families, Kimasala Primary School head teacher Charles Sabambi urged the beneficiaries to ensure that the radios are used for the intended purpose. And the Parents Teachers Committee PTC chairperson Doris Kazila thanked Kansanshi Foundation for the initiative in supporting the education of the children.
I'm today handing over the radios donated by Kansanshi Foundation to parents whose children listen to school on radio programs. School on radio program was introduced by Kansanshi Foundation to help children catch up in their education during this time of COVID-19.
I am appealing to those who have been given the radios to take care of them, as they are meant to help children with education. I am thanking Kansenshi for the radios being given to the community for education purposes. I am thanking Kansenshi Mind for an education program being implemented. My child is now able to speak English, which she never used to before.
Choma District Human Rights Defender has called on parents in the district to encourage their children to attain formal education. Jack and Jill school head teacher Simambo Lakson believes that education is part of the children's rights, hence the need to embrace it. Simambo went on to challenge school-going children to know their rights by exploring on things they are good at without any hindrance. He was speaking during a Careers Day celebration in Choma Friday. Meanwhile, a grade 7 pupil at Jack and Jill Private School has called on government to come to the aid of children coming from low-income families and providing scholarships.
First of all, discover what you are good at and have passion for it. Then practice it until it becomes your skill, which will give you success. If you do not know who you are, you will just live to celebrate others. You need to dream more, to achieve more and influence more. Dear able teachers and parents, your guardians, as a parent, should also read to your child every day. Reading should not only be done to older children, but also to babies as well. If you can make a child love reading such an early age, he or she will be a reader for a lifetime. Every child has something that they are talented at, and it is vital to help them uncover and develop it for the greater good.
A Copperbelt-based girl-child rights activist has observed that it will be difficult for the country to achieve sustainable development. Goal number 4 on education if barriers that hinder the girl-child education are not addressed. Its SDG 4 on education goal aims to ensure inclusive and equitable quality education and promote lifelong learning opportunities for all. Kasupa Samakai says there is need for stakeholders in the education sector to continue addressing issues pertaining to menstrual hygiene in order to prevent girls from staying away from school. Speaking when he donated sanitary ware to Zamtan Community School of Peace in Kitwe, Mr. Samakai urged the corporate community to take keen interest in supporting initiatives aimed at promoting inclusive education.
I did not have any pads, so I thank you so very much, Mr. Samakai and Mr. Chubuye. I thank you very, very much on behalf of my friends and our teachers. We thank you so very, very much.
We really appreciate for your coming. Thank you so much, and may God bless you for the present that you have brought for the girl child.
We are here at Santa, where we are distributing the sanitary pads to the girl child. This is a campaign that we started last year to promote education for the girl child. Mostly, the girl child, in most cases, when they don't have sanitary pads and they are on their periods, they miss out in terms of classes, and it also contributes to poor performance academically. So, in order to cater for the problem, that's how we started the distribution of sanitary pads in order to promote hygiene and good education for the girl child. Remember, when you educate a girl child, you have educated the nation.
The government has handed over 2 vehicles worth 1.6 million to the Department of Lands and the Forestry Department in Eastern Province. Eastern Province Deputy Permanent Secretary Jafat Lombe says the 2 vehicles are meant to motivate the officers from the 2 departments to effectively execute their duties. Mr. Lombe said government through the provincial administration purchased the Tata truck for the Forestry Department and a pickup for the Lands Department. More in this report.
Government is targeting to ensure efficiency in its departments by providing them with the needed equipment in order for officers to effectively execute their duties. In Eastern Province, government has handed out 2 vehicles worth 1.6 million kwacha to the Department of Lands and the Forestry Department. Provincial Deputy Permanent Secretary Joshua Lombe handed out the 2 vehicles.
Through the resources which we have been receiving as provincial administration to support the operation of the 2 installations I've mentioned, we've used the initiative so that we can actually procure these vehicles for the 2 institutions. Our objective is to make sure that we expand the revenue base, the collection of resources on behalf of the government. I would like to request the receiving department to make use of these vehicles so that the service delivery is actually improved in their department. This now is just adding on your efficiency, which has been here. Please to work even extra amount in order for you to go above the targets which we normally go.
And these are the recipients from the 2 departments.
We are so grateful to the government for having purchased this truck under Forestry Department. This will go a long way in ensuring improved delivery of service in the department, and also ensuring that revenue generation is enhanced.
As you may know, we handle the whole province, and with challenges in transport, it's difficult to collect more. However, with this addition, we'll be able to now do a number of programs, even at the same time, because previously we could only handle 1 district at a time. With a number of vehicles for the department, we'll be able to do more. And I think we just want, as a department, just to thank also provincial administration for facilitating the acquisition of these vehicles, and also to assure the provincial PS and even the municipal PS that we will indeed put the vehicle to good use, and we will do our best to ensure that we enhance revenue collection as well as general service delivery to the members of the public.
Government is providing all the necessary support to its departments as a way of motivating officers in order to diligently carry out their work. Sylvester Chimba for Zanis in Chipata District, Eastern Province.
We take another set of commercials. Do stay with us as we still have international and sports news. Don't go away.
And why do you look so pale and busy scratching yourself?
Well, Amwandi, you know my skin is very sensitive. I've tried all the skin products and nothing seems to work.
Have you tried Oracle Pure Glycerin?
Oracle Pure Glycerin? What's that?
Just give me a minute.
Oracle Pure Glycerin gives your skin a youthful and healthy glow.
Ish, you're glowing. Don't tell me.
Yes!
I already know the secrets.
Oracle Pure Glycerin!
Try Oracle Pure Glycerin for that perfect skin.
From time immemorial, we have had different types of lighting options, from those that can burn down our investments in minutes to those that dig holes in our pockets due to constant replacement and huge consumption of our ZESCO units. Savenda Electric introduces the new and advanced electric bulb with cutting-edge technology of LED that has low power consumption, gives out bright white light, and lasts up to 25,000 hours. Savenda Electric manufactures all types of LED light, like plastic LED fluorescent tubes, down lights, ceiling lights, outdoor fittings, and solar street lights made to customer specifications. Let's live on the bright side of life by choosing the wide range of Savenda electric lighting solutions that are available in all leading stores and supermarkets countrywide. For orders, call 0962 642 490 or email jnbunda@savenda.com or pchabula@savenda.com.
I'm Ambassador Frank Mutsobila. My 50 years journey in the media has now taken me to Camnet television. I'm very excited to join this amazing inner family. The importance of governance issues cannot be overemphasized. Every Tuesday at 20:45, I'll be going under the skin of a governance issue with my guest. I'll be interrogating the guest so that you can make an informed decision. I'll be coming on every Tuesday at 20:45 with Frank on Camnet.
Thank you so much for staying with us. We continue with the news. In international news, health officials in Zimbabwe are appealing for help to replenish the country's blood banks. COVID-19 lockdowns and restrictions on people's movements have led to fewer donating blood. That has left national supplies at critically low levels. In other news, presidential candidates in the Republic of Congo have held their final campaign rallies ahead of the election on Sunday. Many opposition politicians are boycotting the polls, and rights groups say there is no space for a democratic process. Al Jazeera has more.
It's Elena Bagu's first time giving blood. She says her father's sudden death made her realize how important this is.
My dad was a police officer. He was part of the Zimbabwean police force here, and he got shot 6 months ago, and unfortunately he didn't survive. But I mean, that weekend he was in the Bardal Trauma Center. We had to rush up and down. There's a place near Cork Road, one of the hospitals, that we had to keep rushing to get blood and platelets, you know, in order for the doctors to do whatever they could. And he lost almost all of the blood in his body before the first operation. So that's why I said every time I see like somewhere to donate, that's going to be my intention. Like, it could potentially save anyone's life.
Government-enforced COVID-19 lockdowns and restrictions on movement have led to fewer people donating blood. Supplies have dropped to critically low levels across Zimbabwe.
At the moment, we are practically living from hand to mouth. At most, we will have 1 or 2 days cover. Because when you talk about stocks, we're looking at how much stock are we holding and for how long will it cover us as a nation. So on average, we are operating with 1 or 2 days stock, which is very, very low. We want to be operating at minimum 5 days stock if we have to be ideally stocked up and ready for any emergencies.
Earlier this month, the government eased its coronavirus lockdown and an overnight curfew it imposed in January. More people are now coming in to give blood, but the numbers are still small. The public is being encouraged to support blood drives across the country. In a few months, it'll be winter here in southern Africa, and health workers are warning of a third wave of coronavirus infections. And if the government enforces another lockdown, it'll put even more pressure on the blood banks. Other countries around the world are also worried about dwindling blood stocks. In Zimbabwe, health workers are approaching eligible donors and using social media to get more people to support blood donation programs. Right now, every drop counts.
They call him the Emperor. And after nearly 40 years in power, 77-year-old Denis Sassou Nguesso wants 5 more. His rule of the Republic of Congo has been blighted by debt crises and corruption scandals, which he says he'll end.
We'll put an end to immoralities, which are called corruption, theft, laziness and indiscipline, and absenteeism. Do you understand?
A lot of the people here don't really look like they're paying a lot of attention to the president's speech. It's normal for people to be paid to attend political rallies here in Congo and given t-shirts and caps, but it's only really the ruling party that has enough resources to do that on any kind of scale.
No expense was spared here at the final rally of his campaign. A French public relations company helped to run it, but not everything followed the script. When people started chanting, "End the curfew," it's in place to prevent the spread of COVID. Sassou Nguesso didn't have anything to say about it. Some opposition parties and politicians are boycotting the election. Others are in jail after disputing the result of the last poll. Matthias Zon is one of the 6 opposition candidates running this time. He's a former finance minister of Sassou Nguesso's government.
All of our money is outside the country. Is it normal? We're living here in our country, but our money is outside. Do you know in which accounts? In private accounts.
Some in the political opposition and rights groups say there's no space for a democratic process. Most fear to speak out about it. Joe Obina is one of few who does.
Nobody believes in democracy. It's a dictatorship. It's definitely a country where human rights are violated. So you cannot consider this country as being a democracy. I mean, people are in jail. People will be running for election are in jail. So this is not a democracy at all.
Few people expect an outcome other than Sassou Nguesso being announced the winner. The last handout of the day was soft drinks and water, thrown over the fence of the nearby Ministry of Foreign Affairs. Congo's billions of dollars of oil revenues haven't helped most of its people. COVID has made things even harder. People say the only time politicians give anything is during elections.
We now get into sports news. South African-based midfielder Nathan Sinkala has joined camp ahead of Thursday's crucial Cameroon 2021 to be played in 2022 Africa Cup of Nations encounter against Algeria at National Hero Stadium. Sinkala, who stars for Premier League Soccer League outfit Stellenbosch, arrived at 13:30 hours aboard the airline and becomes the third foreign-based player to join Mitchell's side. Others already in camp are the Simba CS players Cletus Chama and Rally Walia. The TP Mazembe duo Akabaso Chongo and Tandi Mwape are expected in the evening, while more players will join camp on Sunday. The 2012 AFCON winner said he will use his experience to encourage the younger players to rise to the occasion and beat Algeria. He also urged the fans to support the team on Thursday, even without being in the terraces, owing to the COVID-19-induced ban. Zambia hosts Algeria on Thursday at National Hero Stadium at 21 hours before heading to Zimbabwe for the March 29th final Group H match. That sports item brings us to the end of the news. But before we go, a recap of the headlines. Dr. Nevis MUMBA left in the cold as MMD convention gets disrupted halfway. EIZ calls for professionalism among engineers in the country. Zambia, on a positive path to COVID-19 recovery, records no COVID-19 death, the first time in 2021. In international news, Zimbabwe's dwindling blood supplies prompt calls for donors. And in sports news, Sinkala jets in for Algeria clash. We now look at the Camnet verse of the day, which is coming from the book of Ephesians 2 verse 10, and it reads, "For we are his creation, created in Christ Jesus for good works, which God prepared ahead of time so that we should walk in them." On behalf of the entire news production crew and myself, Liseli Kanyanga Mubanga, thank you so much for watching Camnet TV News on Camnet TV, not just another channel.